Well, welcome back, everybody, to our podcast, the Shell podcast from our booth at the National Minority Supplier Development Council. And for the next few minutes, before we break for the for the lunch event here, I want to spend a few minutes talking about where we are in Shell's initiative for supplier diversity. I mentioned in the podcast that just finished that we've added about $150 million worth of new spend in our supply chain with MWBEs over the last 3 years in capacity building. But that much or more has left our supply chain as MWBEs have gone through succession, have perhaps sold their businesses or passed them on to their heirs, and they cease to be minority or women owned. A great success story for those businesses in some cases. But what we have seen with our spend with MWBEs is that we haven't seen the kind of growth that we would like to see. And so earlier this year, we had the opportunity to meet with our U.S. CEO to give him an update on our Shell's supplier diversity practice and how it's been going and what some of the challenges and needs are. And we made a case to him that we needed to do something different. One of my favorite sayings is, if you want something different, do something different. If you want something more, then do something more. If you want something, do something. And so we want something, and so we're going to do something. We want to take our supply diversity initiative to the next level, and we've set ourselves some pretty aggressive targets over the next couple of years. We are looking to grow our business with minority and women-owned businesses by about 40% in a 2-year period. Now, if you've been listening to our podcast earlier this morning, one thing that I said is that the energy industry, the oil and gas sector, is in a bit of a contraction mode right now because with oil and gas prices having declined by 50% over the last year, it has put pressure on our businesses to reduce our costs and reduce our spending and to contract some of our projects and to extend some of them and so forth. So on the one hand, our business is contracting, but on the other hand, we're looking to grow our spend with minority and women-owned businesses. Sounds like a challenge, and it is going to be a challenge. Setting that high target, setting that aggressive goal, what it's about is that we are looking to go to a new level in how we go about making sure we have inclusion in our supply chain and an inclusive approach so that for the business opportunities we do have, even though the business may be shrinking right now, that as opportunities come to the table, we are being truly inclusive. And so setting that peg of increasing our spend with MWBEs 40% over 2 years is about driving that, doing something different inside our company to make that happen. So I wanted to dispel any myths that suppliers who have heard this before, because we've been talking about it in various venues for a few weeks or a couple of months now. I want to dispel any myths that suppliers might have in terms of how we might be going about that. Doing this kind of work is going to take us being very focused and being very strategic in how we pursue connecting MBEs with Shell opportunities. I mentioned earlier that we get perhaps 100 emails and phone calls a day from suppliers who would love to do business with Shell. And we frankly don't have a physical way even to respond to all of those requests. But what we do is come to events like this and take a very targeted and focused approach on how we connect MBEs to our opportunities. So if you're here today and you have a chance to come by the Shell booth, you're going to see some things that are a little bit different about how we have gone about this work from past years. One of the things, of course, you'll see is this podcast. And the point of doing this is about bringing more information, making more information available to MBEs, and in some cases, information that's helpful also to other corporates about how Shell approaches supplier diversity and what's important to our company, what's important to success in our industry as an MBE. So that's one thing that we're doing a bit differently. But a couple of other important things that we're doing differently that you will see as you come by the Shell booth. We have put in place a new process and a new set of systems and IT tools for registering and keeping in contact with and developing opportunities for MBEs. So last year we piloted this system, and it's an IT system with a set of work processes built around it where we are registering MBEs on the spot, setting them up on the spot for them to register in this new system. But it's not a system where any MBE or any WBE can go online and register. This is an invitation-only system. And so why would we do something like that? This system is intended to invite MWBEs to register when we are pretty clear that there is a potential set of opportunities for the invited MBE or in the space, the supply space that they are participating, that may be happening sometime in the next 6, 12, 18, 24 months. So that means when we invite an MBE to register, we have some idea that there may be something coming down the road in a reasonable time period that MBE might be qualified for. This is a totally different system from those of you who may have registered in the past in our online system, which again is open for any MWBE to register. In fact, we will be closing off that system and killing it off basically by the end of this year and moving 100% to the invitation-only system, because that system is one where we have worked very closely with our procurement leaders and with our business leaders to identify the real opportunities that may be coming down the line. So our commitment to MBEs and our commitment in this process of growing our spend that aggressively over the next 2 years is that we will be very targeted and focused. And when you come to talk with us, we will be very transparent about what the opportunities might look like, but also very transparent when there don't appear to be any opportunities for the goods and services that you might offer over the next reasonable time period. And we hope that that is something that is helpful for MBEs and that you will see that as something that is beneficial, because we don't want to waste your time trying to do business with Shell in a space where there is no opportunity. And this also frees up our time so that we can work on the things that our procurement leaders and our business leaders have told us are real and developing opportunities coming down the pipe. It's that kind of focus that it's going to take to grow our business with MBEs and WBEs as aggressively as we have targeted over the next couple of years. So that's something you'll see that we're doing a little bit differently here if you come by the booth. You will also see that we have a great big list, very transparent, that shows what are some of the goods and services that we are looking for, and again, what are some of those goods and services where there are no short-term opportunities. So as we approach this in a very focused and targeted way, we are looking for your support and your thinking on really looking to find your fit. That's why this morning in our very first podcast, we spent a lot of time talking about examples of suppliers who have worked to find their fit with Shell and to find how they can really add value in opportunities that are coming up. Finding your fit. We're doing everything in our power to help you find your fit so that we can together develop those opportunities that will allow us to grow our spend with MWBEs that aggressively over the next couple of years. So think about that. In the next session, we're going to be talking about several things in terms of support for MWBEs and their growth. I will be talking about a description of our supplier diversity, of our energy supply chain. So what does it really look like in upstream versus midstream versus downstream? What are those pieces of the energy supply chain? And what do we actually buy in each piece of that supply chain? What are the goods and services that are key and core and where we're looking for suppliers? We'll be doing a session on that. We'll be talking further about financing and access to capital and how MBEs can access capital to develop their capacity and to grow their businesses and develop scale. So we hope that you'll come back this afternoon for a couple of those sessions. We have some very interesting guests who will be talking about some of these things. We'll be talking with a couple of entrepreneurs in the M&A, mergers and acquisitions space. Again, thinking about how MWBEs and MBEs can think about growing their businesses not only organically by getting new customers, achieving new customers, but also growing by leaps and bounds and moving towards scale by possible mergers and acquisitions. And we think that this is a space that could be very exciting and that MBEs really should be thinking about as they talk about capacity building and growing their businesses. So please stay tuned, come back. We will begin our podcast again at 2 p.m. and 2:15. I've just been corrected. And we hope you'll turn back in, and we'll have some very interesting topics, including Energy Supply Chain 101 and financing and M&A. Thank you very much, and we'll talk with you in a couple of hours.